This is Marvel's 35th film, and it makes you wonder, is Marvel expecting way too much of their audience? What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ben and I talk film and TV trends and I dive into the entertainment industry and business. Today I wanted to dive into the high stakes of Captain America: Brave New World and how it will test Marvel's entire 4-year strategy of blending TV and film storylines and prove if they are demanding too much of their audience. This movie is a culmination of their TV and film approach, and it will test the general audience members' interest in Marvel. Captain America: Brave New World comes out Friday, February 14th, and we will finally see how Sam Wilson fully steps into the role of Captain America after the events of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is a storyline started all the way back in 2019 when Steve Rogers gave Sam the shield and he briefly stepped into the role at the very end of the TV show The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We know this, Marvel fans know this, we all watched the show and we were, let's be honest, we were a little tad disappointed, but do casual moviegoers know this? I know that Marvel is a big fan base and that there are a lot of people that love it, but even then, most moviegoers who watch these films are not these massive fans that watch absolutely everything and know the entire lore of the MCU. They're just casual people, and that does not make them any less of a fan just because they don't know that Peter Parker showed up in Iron Man 2. But just don't tell Sony that, okay? Because otherwise they might be entitled to some more money and they might make another Craven. These fans will see some of the movies that interest them and they may miss one or two. That's just the growing state of fandom. It's all okay. Not everyone needs to know everything, and some are fine missing these movies and these TV shows. And their TV shows might have been seriously missed by the general public. This is a big leap and test for Marvel, as for the past 4 years they dove into the TV market where they continued on with these characters and had them phase in and out of the TV and film landscape. Their TV shows have been doing fine, but they haven't necessarily been doing great, especially when you compare it against their movies, and this is where I'm saying it will test the general casual fan. Endgame was the biggest movie in the world, right? Not anymore. Avatar swooped in and re-released very fast just to reclaim their title. Kind of pathetic in my mind, but anyways, Endgame was the highest grossing box office film ever for a short period of time. Even if someone had not seen all of the Marvel films, they made sure to go see this one. Everyone saw this movie, but their TV shows are far from the highest viewed shows on any streaming platform. When The Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out and aired 5 episodes, they roughly had 855 million minutes watched. So let's say they hit over 1 billion minutes by the end of his first season run when the 6th episode aired, right? That's fair. Let's say they hit over 1 billion. They don't release their full number of viewership, it's been really annoying, so I'm doing the best of what I can with what I can find online, alright? It did well. It was Disney's #1 show at the time, but that doesn't mean much considering they were just starting out as a streamer. Every show seemed to be the biggest show of all time. But how does this show stack up against some of the other biggest streaming shows of all time? And remember, Endgame was the biggest movie of all time. Everyone watched it, so I will be comparing Marvel as a whole to some of the biggest streaming shows of all time. You may not like that, but this just shows how few people watch Marvel TV shows. So let's compare it to Wednesday. It's one of the biggest Netflix shows of all time, and there's a lot of data about this show. And just so you know, this data is from June of 2023, and Wednesday had been out for about 6 months by then, where Falcon and the Winter Soldier only had about 2 by the end of its run. But even then, even when you compare those two, even with Wednesday being out longer, Wednesday absolutely obliterates Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In June of 2023, Wednesday had 1.7 billion hours viewed, billion with a B. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, after 2 months' time, had roughly 16 million hours viewed. That is such a crazy number. Sorry I laughed a little bit there, but Wednesday absolutely dwarfed Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That just shows how few people watch these Marvel TV shows in comparison to the other TV landscape, where I'm sure everyone you know saw Endgame. That is not the case with these Marvel TV shows. So this all makes me wonder just how many people truly care that Sam Wilson is now Captain America. Will they care about this movie even if they haven't seen the TV show? Are they still invested? That is the problem with Marvel as a whole. Marvel is expanding rapidly and it kind of is demanding a lot from their audience to watch nearly everything they put out just to enjoy their movies. And at first it was okay since their TV shows never really crossed over with their films. But now they are, and it's not necessarily working. They did do it for WandaVision and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but Doctor Strange luckily came out only 1 year after WandaVision, so it was a little bit more fresh. Wanda was also not necessarily the main character of Doctor Strange. She still had a big role, but she was not the main character. they also had other ways to market that movie with the multiverse and all the cameos that they had, and they weren't really focused on Wanda at all. And then they had the Marvels, which did not do well commercially, and it heavily used Monica Rambeau as a character who was introduced in WandaVision, and it used Miss Marvel, who was introduced in Miss Marvel. But at least it had the character of Captain Marvel as a focal point, and that past movie grossed $1 billion. But I don't want to compare that too harshly to overall performance, since when the Marvels came out, it came out right after the SAG-AFTRA strike, and they did not have enough time to properly promote the film using the cast. So I think it's a little unfair to use that film as an example, so take that with a grain of salt. And the rest of their TV shows you don't really need to worry about if you don't want to watch them. They don't cross over into their films. You don't need to watch Secret Invasion to understand the Marvels. You don't need to watch Moon Knight because that's never been mentioned. Loki you don't need to watch either, even though I guess it solved the whole issue with Kang and the whole end credit scene of Ant-Man 3, but you don't need to watch most of these shows to enjoy the movies. But you kinda need to understand what happened in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier to understand Captain America Brave New World, which makes me nervous if people will actually show up for this movie. Even if they're fine with not knowing what happened in the TV show and the audience is just assuming Sam took up the mantle of Captain America immediately after Endgame, there's still a lot of other homework they need to do in order to fully understand this movie. The character Joaquin Torres, who plays the new Falcon, was introduced in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and he has not been seen in a film since. This character will be brand new to the casual movie audience. Same with Isaiah Bradley, who was also introduced in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and has also not been seen in any of the movies. And Isaiah seems to also have a noticeable part in this film, being a major player in the attempted assassination of Thaddeus Ross. Does this movie need to introduce all of these characters again and explain who they are? And if they do reintroduce them, do they have to fully go into their backstory, like having to explain that Isaiah Bradley was actually a super soldier like Steve Rogers, though treated very differently? And will that hurt the film in general, having to just reintroduce all these characters? Will that make the film not great? And I'm just curious on this, and once again, I'm leaning more into the casual moviegoer, the casual Marvel fan, because I have friends who don't know that Harrison Ford is playing an already established character in the MCU, and I don't blame them for not knowing that. If you don't know, Harrison Ford plays Thaddeus Ross. He was initially portrayed by William Hurt way back in the day with The Incredible Hulk, and he has only appeared in 5 films altogether in the MCU. Unfortunately, William Hurt passed away in 2022, and they are reintroducing this character with a recast with Harrison Ford. Now, recasts have happened before, right? We all know the sad tale of Terrence Howard the Unwise.
Next time, baby.
But at least that was a side character and not a character whose most screen time was in The Incredible Hulk. And speaking of The Incredible Hulk, they are also bringing back Tim Blake Nelson, who plays Samuel Stearns, who has not been seen since The Incredible Hulk. Liv Tyler, who has also not been seen since The Incredible Hulk, will also be coming back for this film. Do you know how long it's been since The Incredible Hulk? Obama wasn't even in office when this movie came out. That is how long it's been, almost 20 years. That is testing your audience, even for Marvel fans who have watched every single movie. There are kids who are Marvel fans that are teenagers who may not have even seen The Incredible Hulk or even know about it because they were not born when it came out. Think about that. They don't even know that Edward Norton was the Hulk at one point. That is what Marvel is expecting of their audience. It's a lot, and it will really put their audience to the test. Will they care about this movie even if they don't watch the show? Was this show a good idea, or should they have saved some of their ideas and just saved them for an entire movie? Have their audience hit a fatigue in keeping up with their content, and not just with their shows, but also having a deep knowledge of the lore of the MCU, where you have to have knowledge of a film that came out when social media wasn't even a thing. That is what it's at stake for this film. And all that aside, Marvel really needs a win. Yes, they hit gold with Deadpool and Wolverine, and I don't think they've lost it since Endgame. They've had plenty of movies before Endgame that weren't that great. I think we all remember Thor: The Dark World, or at least we try not to remember it, despite Endgame kind of forcing us to remember it. But they've been experimenting, and it hasn't been going well, and after Brave New World and The Thunderbolts, which comes out this May, they might be done with experimenting unless they hit some wins. Even though this film requires some homework, I'm still excited to see it. I'm excited to see Anthony Mackie in a lead role and continue on the legacy of Captain America, as well as see Harrison Ford take on the Red Hulk. He seems pretty excited about this role, and I'm happy that he's happy. But what do you all think about this film altogether? Do you guys think that Marvel should keep their TV separate from their films? Do you think at this point they're asking way too much of their audience? Or do you have another point to make? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want more. I don't just talk Marvel, but I also talk about the general movie and TV industry, and I put out new videos every week. So if you subscribe, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.